We'll move on to the agenda for the meeting now, and we've got Anne and Tim who are going to come and give a technology update. Yes.
Thanks, Jeremy. I guess talking about Howard brought a bit of a tear to my eye, because when I first came to LINX, he definitely embraced me and told stories of things about how when he first learned how to program, he actually did it on cards, which I didn't even know existed at that point, so it was really impressive. But anyway, okay, talking about our update. We'll be discussing the service issue since the last LINX meeting in May, so there's quite a few, so bear with me. And then Tim will go over the root server update. There were 2 Alice LG issues in June caused by unusual extended communities triggering a bug with Alice LG on the 3rd and the 8th of June. Neither impacted the root servers, only the looking glass. We worked with the 2 members and asked them to remove the prefixes in both cases as an immediate fix, while we're working with the developers for a permanent fix for the bug. There were service issues in June that were related to LUN2. On the evening of the 20th of June, ISLs went down between Metro 2 IN2 LUN2 and Metro 1 TCH LUN2. This outage, which didn't impact members or peering, was caused by our dark fiber circuit being ceased by the vendor. The dark fiber was reinstated into service on the evening of the 22nd of June. The second outage included flow mine drops on LUN2, followed by ISL flaps in succession between Metro 3 IN2 and Core 2 TCH. This resulted in traffic loss and reachability issues across the LAN. Partial restoration was achieved by disabling ISLs between Edge 1 IN2 to Metro 2 IN2 and Metro 3 IN2, and disabling ISLs between Edge 2 IN2 to Metro 2 IN2 and Metro 3 IN2, and disabling ISLs between Metro 3 IN2 and Core 2 TCH. Full restoration was achieved as a workaround by disabling the lag between Core 2 TCH LUN2 and Core 1 THN LUN2. On the morning of the 22nd of June, a report came in that a member had reachability problems between Equinix, Harbor Exchange, and Telehouse North at LUN2. It became apparent that this issue had reemerged where MAC addresses for members would appear in the MAC table of an Edge device, but not in its MAC hardware table. The resolution to this was to clear the Layer 2 VPN, EVPN, BGP session between affected edges for the MAC address to populate into the MAC hardware table. This occurrence was triggered by the installation of Metro 3 IN2 LUN2, which had previously been used in the lab. While the configuration had been updated and showed the new router ID value, the old value was still in use until the OSPF process was restarted. And the issue was later resolved completely by rebooting Core 2 TCH and re-enabling the disabled link. On 29th of June, there was another reachability outage triggered by dark fiber issues between Sovereign House to Telehouse and Sovereign to Powergate, where flows dropped between Powergate and Sovereign House, affecting traffic to these sites. An update on this outage, a software fix was applied to Edge 1 TCA LUN2 and Edge 2 TCA LUN2 on the 26th of October from OCNOS 1.3.8.205 to OCNOS 1.3.8.232. Unfortunately, it did not resolve the issue, and on the 5th of November, an outage occurred and the software had to be reverted, and our vendor is investigating. In July, FPC6 on Core 3 TCH failed, and all ISLs on the core router went down. It affected all direct and transit traffic from and to Core 3 TCH. After reseating FPC6, fabric plane errors were observed on planes 2 and 3, causing multiple drops into the exchange. Direct traffic between Edge 1 TCM and Edge 3 TCH was dropped due to not having an available secondary path at the time. The link errors on FPC7 were causing traffic traversing this cart to be silently discarded. As a result, approximately 26 sessions to RS1 and 62 sessions to RS3 were impacted. Members peering directly from other edges whose traffic traversed this card were also impacted. FPC7 was rebooted to clear the alarms and the traffic normalized. This outage was similar to one that occurred in March, and we requested a JSU to rectify the issue. The JSU fix was deployed in a series of maintenances over the past few weeks, and the last one was Tuesday morning. Another outage in July was when the LUN2 collector sessions went down. This was caused by an engineer who was working on site. This server has since been replaced by a hardware refresh and the patching rerun, mitigating the chance of this reoccurring. So we're now at the service issues made as far as August. The first was when there was a brief loss of connectivity to members on Edge 1 THN, to some members on Edge 2 THN and Edge 3 THN. All FPCs on Edge 1 THN, 3 FPCs on Edge 2 THN, and 1 FPC on Edge 3 THN rebooted. Member connections to the LIN1 collector would have seen their connections drop as well. After investigations with JTAC, the source of the problem was identified as a software update on our management router that triggered a bug on our MX960 edge routers across LIN1. The software upgrade resulted in small-scale unknown unicast flooding on the local site management network. This flooded traffic triggered Juniper PR 1712855 on our MX960s, which both replicated this flooded traffic and passed it onto the Junos kernel. This caused resource exhaustion, impacting various protocols and watchdog timers, resulting in FPC restarts on the affected routers. JTAC provided a fix, which was applied in a maintenance window on the 15th of August, disabling promiscuous mode on the management interface on the MX960s in the network. The next issue was when LIN1 collector sessions went down due to a memory issue. A restart of Bird restored service, and a memory upgrade has fixed the overall issue. The next issue was when Alice LG crashed for all LANs. It was the same issue as in June, and there will be more details of this in the root server update. There was a power issue in Telehouse West on the 4th of September. To remediate an issue with uneven power load sharing over the power supply units in the Juniper router Core 3 THW, each PEM was removed and reinserted in sequence as per vendor recommendation. During this process, PIM4 lost power to both feeds when power was being reconnected. This tripped the breaker to one of the main feeds powering Core 3 THW, resulting in the device running on a single power feed. Telehouse facilities team was engaged. During the remediation work by Telehouse to replace the fuse on the faulty feed, power was lost to the second feed, resulting in a complete outage to the Core 3 THW router, and in turn, all members connected on Core 3 THW. Traffic passing through this device was rerouted. We investigated with Telehouse and our engineer on site, and it is unclear what was the exact root cause on losing the second feed. 4 power redundancy was restored after the faulty pin was removed for the last time, and Telehouse engineers restored power and fuses were checked to be correct. The cause of the failure was a faulty power supply, though we're continuing with maintaining and improving process around power, including audits and training. On the 18th of September, I2C errors on PEM3 were observed and all FPCs restarted. All member connections on Edge 1 TH2 and ISLs went down as a result of the outage. JTAC was engaged to advise that it was PR 1636118 being triggered, which was on all MX platforms. In the case of a faulty PIM module present in the device, the process chassis D, make it a hog, and FPC, make it restarted. The workaround is to replace the faulty PIM module, and replacing PIM3 and Edge 1 TH2 resolve the issue. A bug fix will be incorporated in our next round of software upgrades. There was an outage on our VM servers in JEDX, which affected the root server RS2 JED1. Customers saw their connections with the root server down, as well as other internal VMs running on this host. We moved internal monitoring servers onto the live hypervisor, restoring these systems. The hardware failure was identified and replacement parts have been ordered and will be installed in due course. All customers were advised to peer with RS1 JED1 if they hadn't already, and the root servers are considered at risk as RS2 is still down, but RS1 is fully functional, while we are awaiting spares to arrive shortly. The last service affecting issue was when sporadic flows began dropping between Edge 1 TCA LIN2 and other edges on LIN2 after a vendor dark fiber maintenance. We believe it was triggered by a software upgrade on this device, and Edge 2 TCA LIN2 as a fix for the hardware MAC table issue that we first observed in June. We had to roll back the software to restore normal service, and have followed up with our vendor. They are trying to recreate the issue and working with their dev team. We don't have many upcoming maintenances, so I'll mention a couple of projects with member migrations. We will have upcoming member moves for 2 projects. One is Nova, once the parallel staging is completed. Nova is to be migrating to Nokia 7250 solution in late November, early December, and member migrations are due to start in the new year. Our refresh of Wales is in the works. migrating to Edge Core, and every LAN will be fully self-service automated. It will be built later this month, early December, and the member moves maintenance should be shortly after. Our change freeze for Nova is from 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. British Time, Wednesday the 22nd to Monday 9 a.m., 27th of November. And the Christmas change freeze starting at noon on Friday the 15th of December through to 9 a.m. Tuesday the 2nd of January.
My colleague Mo does the vast bulk of root server work at LINX these days. Unfortunately, he had to drop out at the last minute, so you've got me. Apologies if I miss anything as a result. So OpenBGPD. We want to run dual vendor BGP daemons for the root servers. It gives us much better stability on the platform. We're quite happy with OpenBGPD. We've deployed it everywhere now except LUN1. But it's an ongoing process, so development is actively happening. There's bug fixes, there's performance improvements. We're looking to deploy next 8.3. We're currently running 7.7. We're going through the process of getting that rolled out. It's got a couple of new features. One of them is the ability to change next hop on prefixes on the root server. And that's something we require for remote triggered black hole, which is a feature that we continually ask for. So we're working towards that. Extended communities, we're going to come back to that later. There's a number of fixes around extended communities. They're always a bit of a pain. So 8.2, that's going to go out on all the ARS2 root servers. We are looking to roll it out to LUN1. We're sort of getting to the point where we're confident enough to do that. LUN1 is a completely different scale to all the other LANs, so that's going to be interesting, but we've got to do it at some point, so it will happen. Our Microsoft Azure peering service that we offer, OpenBGPD is now taking some of that load, so again, we've got dual vendor on that. And the Root Server Software Foundation, which us and other IXPs are involved in, is steering and funding the development of OpenBGPD. So, story's good on that front. Bird. So, we've been using Bird 1.6 for like absolutely ever. Bird 2 has been around for a long time. It's stable. It's widely deployed. But we've been lagging behind a bit, and very wisely, they're going to actually end support for that. So that forces us to move off it. We'll move on to Bird 2. We're testing in the lab. A lot of the changes are to do with changes in configuration. So all our automation platform has been updated for that, which also leaves us in a good state for Bird 3 because the config is basically the same. I think it actually is the same. So again, we'll roll out that first on the small LANs and then slowly build up to the big ones and finally, LUN1. All our collectors are Bird, so we'll have to move the collectors to Bird 2. We'll do that once we're happy with the root servers. We did have a little minor issue with the delay. If you go and have a look in the public Linux repo, packaged repositories, the version in there is not one that would be suitable for us to roll out, so we had to work with the developers and get a private repository going so that us and other people that rely on rolling it out from a packaged state can do so easily. But that's done. So we're moving forward. Again, our Microsoft Azure peering service. When we first rolled this out in LUN1, we deployed dedicated servers for it. We were a little bit conservative. When we looked to roll it out to other LANs, we realized that we really didn't need that. So we're going to be collapsing those onto, in fact, we already have done, onto the existing root servers. So we're running 3 instances, one for v4, one for v6, and one for what we call our maps service. Nova and Manchester are already in that deployment. We're sort of halfway there with the one on LUN1. Both of the new servers are ready, but we're still running on one of the old dedicated servers at the moment. We haven't cut over. So yeah, that's Bird. Alice Looking Glass. Alice is a looking glass that we use for both OpenBGPD and Bird. It has crashed several times when it's had extended communities sent to it. We've reported this. We've been working with the developers. We're going to deploy a new version and a new version of the backend called Birdwatcher, which integrates with Birdwatcher. And the OpenBGPD state server, I think, is the one for OpenBGPD. We haven't seen quite the same issue, I think, though, with that one. So yeah, extended communities, let's be honest, they're a bit of a pain. They don't really do what they set out to do in the first place. They don't work properly for large AS numbers. BGP large communities have been around for a long time. They've got adoption. And as a community of IXPs, we're working towards let's drop them from root servers. So RFC, BCP work is going on that, and we're actually planning to scrub them from the root servers completely. I say that they're a pain. They've caused us lots of crashes, and some of the outages you've seen before, you think, well, why isn't LINX filtering those out? And some of that has been because we actually couldn't. We had bugs. And again, it's the pain point. The extended BGP communities have they've not really had the sort of love that you might have expected, and you find issues when you actually try and come to work with them. So we're going to be doing that as we roll out the new versions of Bird and OpenBGPD. They will not come up with extended community support. If you actually look at our root server graphs, if you can find them, they are there. They're slightly hidden away on the portal. They're very 1990s. We're still using RRD tool. We've got some helper scripts that basically scrape the CLI and expose everything as SNMP. That worked back in the day, but it's not the best way of doing things now. As we're moving towards the newer versions of the BGP daemons, they're integrating proper API endpoints for stats. We've been using Prometheus as backend for our stats now for quite some time. We're looking to just basically pull the stats into our Prometheus instance. That will help us. Hopefully, we'll get a lot better, richer stats, both for consumption internally, and then there's the possibility, of course, that once we've got those stats up and stable internally, we can look at exposing some more of the instrumentation of our root service to members. And that's it from me.
Thank you so much. Yes.